Alright, so UFC 309 just took place, and I'd like to get into a quick recap of the entire event. So, starting into my overall thoughts. The first thing, and the most important thing about this entire event, is that Jon Jones refused to retire. He refused to retire, and he refused to give up his belt to Tom Aspinall. And then, not only did he do that, when, Joe Rogan asked him about Tom Aspinall and about a potential fight with, Alex Byrne and stuff, he just said, I love Jesus Christ. I love America, in order to get cheers out of the crowd. He's just such, there was a great comment that I saw earlier on my video about Jon Jones, about how the devil can cite scripture for his own purpose. And that's very, very true in this case, because this criminal, this duck, he's now refusing to retire, and he's going to stall out this heavyweight division yet again. Besides that, the main card, the Chandler versus Oliveira fight was okay. It didn't end in a finish. And Chandler got away with so many fouls in that fight. What was the referee doing in there? What was Keith Peterson doing in there? And besides that, the main card was pretty meh. I mean, the Huffy fight was pretty good, but even then, there's that caveat about how Huffy's opponent, Lontop, missed weight, even though it was a catchweight bout. And, overall, I have to say that this pay-per-view, the highlight of it was, the fight of the night, which was the Onama versus Romero fight. And there was a great win from Jim Miller, but this pay-per-view overall was pretty ass. It's pretty bad. And I think that, it's just, this was just not worth anybody's money whatsoever, or anybody's time whatsoever. So, getting into the main event, I think that this fight proves that Jon Jones is 100% ducking Tom Aspinall for real. So, there's a couple of people who are saying, Jon Jones is just, he's trying to bait, he's trying to ask the UFC for more money and trying to negotiate more, to get higher pay before he fights Tom Aspinall or something like that. No. He's ducking Tom Aspinall because he knows that he loses to Tom Aspinall. Because although Jon Jones, he looked good on the ground, he got a trip over Stipe Miocic in the first round, and he got a 10-8 there, and he finished Stipe with a spinning back kick. But if you looked at the fight, you kept on seeing that any time that Stipe kind of pressured forward, he would be able to clip Jon Jones with his right hand. I think he clipped Jon Jones with his straight right. He also, I think, either partially landed or grazed Jon Jones with an uppercut, with the right uppercut, at one point. And, any one of those shots that Stipe was landing on Jon Jones, if any of those right hands were from Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones would have been flatlined. And the worst part about all of this, as I said earlier, is that Jon Jones, he brought up, his love for Jesus or whatever, despite being a wife-beating, steroid cheat, violent criminal who crashes into pregnant women and, all of that stuff. Despite being all of that, he says, I love Jesus Christ, I love America, I love Donald Trump. It's just, he's just using all these, he used America, he used Donald Trump, he used Jesus Christ in order to duck Tom Aspinall and just run away from that whole situation there. It's just a travesty that this man did not retire tonight, because now we have the heavyweight division stalled even further. And, as for Stipe, I hope he made a lot of money because he retired tonight. And he just looked so slow. There was this one time, the moment that I knew that Stipe was going to lose this fight was when Stipe threw this outside low kick to Jon Jones' thigh. And he didn't turn his hips. His hips were just so stiff. I don't think he sat down on a single punch. Every single punch that he was landing on Jon Jones was an arm punch. And even then, those were ridiculously slow. So yeah, it's just, this was exactly what we thought it was going to be. It was just Jon Jones cherry-picking 42-year-old Stipe Miocic and beating up on him. That's all that this was. and it just shows that, MMA, based upon what we saw with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, we're having a little bit of that stuff bleed in. We're seeing the best not fight the best anymore because of the politics that are involved with MMA and the fact that the UFC prioritizes the legacy of a serial violent criminal. Who he should be in prison. This guy should be in prison. But for some reason, the UFC continues to privilege him above, genuinely good people. It's just awful. But anyways, moving on to a fight that was less infuriating. Well, actually, it was infuriating for other reasons, but we have Chandler versus Oliveira. And I think that a lot of people didn't expect for this to go to a decision. Personally, I had Chandler by KO because I had bad vibes about this card, and Chandler did get close to knocking out Oliveira in the 5th round via back of the head shots, which for some reason the referee did not stop. But it was a pretty good fight. Oliveira, his offensive wrestling looked very, very good. He also had fantastic back takes. He had some clean knees, some good right hands in there as well. And he dominated Chandler. It was like a 49-45, I think, because he got 10-8 round in round 3 or 4. And it's just Oliveira. I still think that he loses to Islam, but at this point, once Makhachev faces Sarukian, and if Makhachev gets past Sarukian, then of course I would say the Islam versus Charles rematch, that would be worth seeing. And as for Chandler, this cheating scum. Chandler is just cheating scum. He did so many cage grabs. He hit Charles Oliveira in the back of the head, not just in the 5th round, but he was punching Oliveira in the back of the head back in the 1st round when Charles Oliveira was mounting him. This guy is just terrible. And then he did this cringe call out of Conor McGregor at the very end. Please, Conor McGregor, don't fight this guy. This guy's cheating scum. His only good moment in the 5th round was because he hit Oliveira in the back of the head. And besides that, he just got completely dominated, pillar to post. The only good aspect of his game that he showed in this entire fight was his rear naked choke defense. And even then, he's supposed to be a wrestler, right? He's supposed to be a wrestler, and he has no takedown defense. What's going on here, Chandler? What's going on? Just absolute trash. Now, speaking of absolute trash, we have Paul Craig versus Bo Nickel. I've seen 40-year-old hobbyists at my MMA gym who have better striking than Paul Craig and Bo Nickel. And getting into Bo Nickel, right? This man has no power in his hands whatsoever. He cracked Paul Craig. I don't know how many times. It was at least 3 times with solid overhands and hooks. And Paul Craig is chinnable. Paul Craig does not have a particularly good chin. He's been chinned by Roundtree. He's been chinned by Johnny Walker. Who else is there? Chinned by Roundtree. He got chinned by Bohayo. Paul Craig is not, he doesn't have a granite chin. And then Bo Nickel here was hitting Paul Craig clean, and he only wobbled Paul Craig in the 3rd round. And even then, Paul Craig wasn't really wobbled. He was just kind of dazed because Bo Nickel caught him right above the eye. And yeah, this fight just shows that Bo Nickel, he's got no power in his hands whatsoever. His striking kind of sucks. And as for whether this was a fraud check, this was a fraud check. Bo Nickel is a fraud. He's overrated as hell. I think he loses to anybody in the top 15. Exception might be Michelle Pereira or something like that. But Bo Nickel, his only good shot was a straight left to the body. And Bo Nickel's performance here like, it basically kind of reminded me of, like, watching an amateur boxer, right? Watching an amateur boxer who, like, is, like, a guy who, yeah, like, an amateur boxer who only knows how to, like, throw the straight shots to the body, and that's all he has. Just overall, terrible look from Bo Nickel. And yeah, with Paul Craig, my question about Paul Craig is, like, how have you gotten to the UFC only knowing how to throw a right body kick, which you sometimes throw high? Like, Paul Craig, his striking was just so bad. And even then, his striking was able to allow him to, like, survive to a decision against Bo Nickel. And one thing I'd like to point out about Paul Craig's striking here is that Paul Craig keeps on feigning the right hand. He keeps on, like, twitching his right hand, but he never, ever, ever throws it. So I'm like, what's the point? What's the point of you feinting here when you're just going to throw the right body kick? It's like Darren Till, right? Darren Till, he does all this feinting with his lead hand, with everything else, with his shoulders and all that, but then Darren Till just throws the left hand. Same applies to Paul Craig. Paul Craig, he just feints, and then he throws a right body kick. So, what are you doing here? What's going on? It's just, this was probably one of the most mid fights of all time. And it just looked like a sparring session. There was no urgency in this fight. There were no moments that made you like, oh, that was shocking, or that was entertaining. None of that there. This was dull. Now, moving on to an actually exciting fight, we have Huffy versus Lontop. Of course, I'm going to be skipping the women's MMA fight. Don't worry. Who cares about that? As for Huffy versus Lontop here, Huffy basically showed us and everybody involved basically what we expected. He looked nice and clean out there. He had this beautiful fadeaway left hand in the second round that dropped Lontop. And in the first round as well, he threw this picture-perfect straight right that wobbled Lontop pretty good. And I think also damaged Lontop's eye. But one thing I'd have to say is that Joe Rogan in the third round was saying, like, Huffy's gassed. He's just like Conor McGregor. He needs to keep, if he's throwing full force, he's gonna gas out and he's gonna fade and Lontop's gonna win. And I'm just sitting there thinking, Joe Rogan, shut the hell up. Okay, shut the hell up. Number one, this was at a catchweight, but Lontop still missed weight. Number two, if this fight were actually at 155 pounds, or even at the catchweight, then Huffy would have KO'd Lontop in either first or the second round. Like the right hand that Huffy landed in the first round, or the left hook that he landed in the second round. Either one of those would have knocked out Lontop if these two guys were the same size. And as for Lontop, how do you miss weight at a catchweight? How do you miss weight? Like, everybody's praising Lontop for, being tough, or being all that and whatever. Like, Lontop, if you're gonna miss weight, don't take the fucking fight. If you aren't a heavyweight, you should have abs as a fighter. Like, you're just fat, bro. You're fat. Everybody's saying, oh, this guy's so tough. This guy has such a granite chin. No, he does not. He's just fat. The reason why this guy's chin is so good is because he has two of them. Okay? Like, another guy who misses weight a lot and has a great chin, Kelvin Gastelum. Right? Like, no, this guy does not have a good chin. He got dropped multiple times. His striking was not all that good. Huffy was rolling with all of Lontop's shots. And honestly, if, as I said earlier, if this guy came in at the same weight as Huffy, Huffy would have finished him in the second round. Or even the first round. So please stop saying that this guy's tough. This guy missed weight. He came in at a catch weight, and then he missed weight. He's fat. His chin probably isn't all that. And yeah, that's all. Now, moving on to the best fight of this card. This was a great fight between Roberto Romero and David Onama. I thought that Roberto Romero, he dropped David Onama bad in the first round. And I think that he showed a lot of heart. I know in the first round, both David Onama and Roberto Romero, they dropped each other. And this fight was a pretty awesome war. And the one thing that I thought while watching this was that Roberto Romero, his head movement is kind of, it's very worrying. Like, Roberto Romero's head movement is very worrying, just watching it. Like, he ducks his head much like a boxer, but his head movement really isn't that fast. So I can definitely see him getting caught by a knee in the future once guys do tape study on him. And then the other point that I thought was that David Onama is just so huge for 145 pounds. Like, he's 5'11", he's 145, and he has decent muscle. So, I don't know. I guess this fight was fought at lightweight, so that might explain why David Onama looked so big in there. But even then, the fact that he's able to cut to featherweight is kind of crazy, considering how huge the guy is. But yeah, David Onama, he got the unanimous decision win. But still, it was a great showing from Roberto Romero, and I look forward to watching him fight even more in the future. Now, besides that, the two finishes that kind of stuck out to me were the Oban Elliott KO. That was pretty good. Mickey Gall got flatlined, so he's going to get cut. And then finally, of course, we have Jim Miller getting another submission win. Yeah, that was fun to watch. Watching Jim Miller get another win, that was nice. But yeah, overall, this card, especially the pay-per-view, was shit. And John Jones got away yet again. He's going to stall the heavyweight division yet again by refusing to retire. And yeah, it sucks. So, like, share, and subscribe. This video, of course, is much lower quality than my other videos because it's an immediate reaction. So I'm going to be putting in the low quality, not the low quality, but the low effort video section of my channel, in the low effort video playlist. But yes, like, share, and subscribe if you found this to be of any interest whatsoever. Goodbye.